Hello. Today is time for the stories of the paranormal, and this one is number 8. This again is an investigation that I was involved in with the Haunted Yorkshire Paranormal Research Group. So I'd just like to say hi to Dawn, hi to Joan, and see if you can remember the very strange things that we found in this particular house, and not forgetting the skeleton. The house itself was in Halifax in West Yorkshire. It was an old Victorian terraced house which had quite a good number of steps leading up to a doorway which led you into the kitchen. And as we entered the kitchen, I was aware that there was quite a heavy feeling in there. A feeling as though something was not quite right. Where kitchens are normally the heart and soul of any home, this one had kind of a cold, not unwelcoming feeling, but a cold, tragic type of feeling. We were greeted by the owner of the home called Sally, and she led us through into a living area where Dawn set up camp, and she went around doing all the baseline tests, etc, etc. Joan was given a digital thermometer and a torch. Dawn had the EMF meter, the hygrometer, and a notepad to take down notes as the evening went on. Myself and the cameraman Russ went upstairs, and as Russ was filming me, I remember saying, "I've got a feeling in here of being quite disorientated, a sense of being dizzy." I called Dawn to come up, and I asked her to come and join me. And as she came towards me, Dawn too did lose her footing. So it disorientated her too, which was nice to know again that it wasn't just fanciful thoughts of my mind. The presence in that room was, I believe, to be benign. There didn't seem to be any feeling of threat or anything like that. I couldn't say what that energy was. Absolutely no idea to this day. Moving on to bedroom 2, which was the host's bedroom, I noticed when we went in that there was an old-fashioned, what I can only describe as a careworn leather chair. And this leather chair was kind of on an angle, looking out towards a window. And as I was looking at this chair, I became aware of an older gentleman. And this gentleman would have been 60 or in his 60s. And he was looking out of the window. And it was a place where he would have sat quite often, looking out of the window and shouting and cursing at children who were passing by. He really didn't like children. A very grumpy man. He was the kind of guy who disliked children so much that he didn't even like them when he was at school with them. It went that deep. I could see him sat there. I can see him now in my head. He had a balding head, mustard coloured cardigan with a check shirt underneath. He had the old-fashioned crimpling trousers and moccasin type slippers. And as he sat there in this chair, he picked up his pipe and he lit this pipe and he drew deeply. And he blew smoke into the air. And at that point I was sure that I could smell it was either Condor or St. Bruno tobacco, which was one that my grandfather often smoked. but it was definitely there in the air. As I looked at Gerald, I could see that he had quite a lot of pain here in his lower abdomen, and he was really struggling with this pain. I don't know, I assume it was bowel cancer, something of that ilk. And as I was watching him, and I could see the pain and suffering he was going through, I realised that he'd actually died there, in that room, not necessarily in that chair. And it had been several weeks before anybody had found his body. So he was in quite a bad state of decomposition and crawling with maggots when his body was actually found. And I think even then, looking back, he was only found purely by chance, that one of the family members had decided to go and check on him because they hadn't heard from him for quite a while. And as I saw this very sad picture, the name of Jonathan Midgley came to me. And I do believe that that was the man's name. Apparently Midgley is a very popular name in the Bradford area. So once again, I was quite interested to know what was going on there. I left the bedroom and went back downstairs, back into the living area once again. And again there was a sense of a presence being in there, something that perhaps shouldn't be there. But on saying that, again it was a very benign feeling. There was no question of any threat or any worry to anybody. This ghostly thing was just there. Simple as that. Maybe residual, maybe grounded, I really don't know. From leaving there we went into the kitchen again where Sally was sat waiting. She'd made us a drink. And all of a sudden I could smell a very strong smell of cigarette tobacco, smoke. And her husband said, "I'm glad you've said that." Says, "Because I can smell it many a time and so can she." He says, "But the thing is, she's constantly blaming me. Even though I've given up smoking, she thinks that I'm having a crafty cig without her knowing. So I'm glad that you've picked it up." So there within this kitchen area again there was a ghostly presence. A presence who liked to have a cigarette. We were talking about this, that and the other, and we were talking about the kitchen and this feeling of dread, this feeling of heaviness that was hanging in the air. And both Sally and her husband told us that during some renovations to the house, they were having the kitchen extended and they needed to have some plastering done on the ceiling above. And as they were chipping away at the old black lime plaster, they became aware that they were bones. And as it was removed even further, it revealed a full skeleton of a man. Of course, work had to stop, the police were called. They came in with a forensic scientist, as far as I believe, that's what we're told. And the forensic scientist said that the body, or the skeleton, had been there for at least 137 years. And this body had laid between the roof of the kitchen and the floor of the bathroom, in that tiny space between the joists. And I can remember thinking, how on earth did the people who lived there previously, and having put the body in the joists, how on earth could they live with that? I mean, the smell at times must have been horrendous. But I suppose after a while all that will just fade away. And you'll just be left with the skeleton, which they were. Anyway, that's why I feel that there was this heavy presence. Because whoever this poor soul was who had been killed or who had died in unnatural circumstances and had been left within these joists, I believe it was a feeling from his life, his presence. We said to Sally, would you like these apparitions, these ghostly goings on? Would you like us to move them on? To which Sally said no. They're doing me no harm. And at this time it's okay, it's fine. But I thank you for coming in because I just wanted to know what was going on. And if you could pick it on anything up. And she told us that she'd always been aware of this gentleman in her bedroom. This Jonathan Midgley. Because she'd sensed him. And occasionally she thought she'd glanced him out of the corner of the eye. And she went on to tell us that the old leather chair, which I said was careworn, was actually left within the house when they had bought it. But she liked the chair so much that she decided to clean it up a bit, do what she could, and keep it. And of course, Jonathan was attached to that chair. And as far as I know, is probably still attached to that chair to this day. All in all, it was a very interesting investigation. Team members feeling things. As I said, Dawn also lost her footing in the bedroom where I was disorientated. There was the usual orbs, but as you know by now, the orbage thing to me is, it's in the balance. I'm not saying that orbs are not ghosts. I just think that a vast percentage of orbs that we see are quite natural phenomena. Nothing to do with the unnatural or the paranormal. So we drew the investigation to a close. We went on our way happy. And we had arranged for another ghost hunt in another house in Bradford, a place called Fagley, where a gentleman and his daughter lived. And that house also was an incredible source of evidence that life goes on beyond this realm. So I look forward to doing that. So up until that point, I thank you so much again for listening. Thank you for watching. If you like what you've heard, click like. Please subscribe to my channel. Click the bell to get all updates on any more that I upload. And I will say goodbye. And I hope that you have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Namaste.